This episode is brought to you by Energize Colorado. Energize Colorado is a nonprofit that provides resources and advising to small businesses across the state. Energize Colorado is here to create a more resilient foundation for the state's small business ecosystem. They provide the resources necessary for small businesses to flourish. Low-interest loans to energize your small business with Energize Colorado. Learn more at energizecolorado.com. Today on CityCast Denver, I love everything about Colfax Avenue. The grit, the weirdness, the way it constantly changes without changing at all. So when I heard that the old Irish Snug was reopening as a new place named for a Colfax legend, I had to know more. I called up my friend Keith Garcia, artistic director at Colfax's own C Film Center, and headed over to the new Crazy Horse to sit down with Stephen Alex, the man behind Colfax's buzziest nightlife spots and its latest reinvention, which might be the most queer yet. Today is Thursday, June 8th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. So we're sitting here in Crazy Horse, which was formerly the Irish Snug, which most people would probably know it as, but a long time ago, it was Sid King's Crazy Horse. So Keith, I think we should just share with listeners a little bit about this guy. So it was like a strip club when it was Sid King's Crazy Horse, but he had this sort of vaudevillian flair about him, is how I would describe it.
Yeah, from my knowledge of his effect on Colfax back in the day was, it was definitely a P.T. Barnum of sorts of the street. Kind of just bringing people in with promising a big show and entertainment and don't go anywhere else for that. Colfax is the place, and Crazy Horse is the heart of all that.
And if you see old pictures, it has this very Vegas-y 60s Vegas feel, which I think embodies a lot of Colfax, the feeling that I think when we think of the historic nature of Colfax, that's what I think about anyway. He had a mannequin on the front of the building. It was so wild. I'm trying to remember his tagline of it. It was somewhere to take your girlfriend, or it was more just come see a wild show.
Yeah, I wish we could get a hold of that mannequin. That would be a really cool addition.
I feel like someone out there has to have that mannequin.
Hopefully
someone
can
recreate the mannequin too.
True.
I have a feeling.
True.
I always kind of that idea of bring your girlfriend to the strip club. It's so. I have this place in my heart for the nasty Times Square of New York City.
Sure.
In the 70s.
Sure.
And early 80s, and though it certainly did not get. We
didn't get that.
We didn't get the nastiness here, but there was this thing in the air in the country, kind of about expanding sexuality a little bit, and that's when movies like Deep Throat and Behind the Green Door and all that were playing in movie theaters, and they were straight up porno, but they were porno with an artistic edge.
Yeah,
and so it was go. Couples come and watch the movie, and then maybe you'll be a little inspired for whatever. So
you
this
could
notion,
come here.
Exactly, this notion you can come to Crazy Horse with your partner and be oh, we're gonna watch a wild show, and then let's go home.
But to be clear, that is no longer here.
No. Very different vibe. But I'm thinking the Ogden Theater and the Bluebird were those kinds of theaters at that point, right? They were smutty theaters or whatever. So you might be able to kind of have that moment. But so the bar now, the sign is here, but it's different. So do you feel like Sid King is this larger than life figure that helped establish what we think of today as Colfax? How do you see yourself as someone who's a proprietor of several places that are known, to be fun and really how do you see yourself in that sort of story?
Yeah, I wish I had known the history before, but I'm sure that's why I was instantly drawn to Colfax. I feel like there's some similarities between him and I, just from the stories. Sure. Of course, I didn't have the chance to meet him, but so that creation is kind of what I like. This long, wicked, you call it, but street that's got some grit to it, but not, but safe.
It's that kind of
like,
crime you seek out, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being growing up here as a teenager, I wanted to live near Cheeseman Park. I wanted to live in Capitol Hill. Like, I wanted to be near where the action was.
Right.
And,
even if you hear a gunshot once in a while.
right. I mean, honestly, there's parts of the city I felt way more unsafe in. I think part of it is there's often just people on Colfax 24 hours a day, and nothing is scarier than being on a block and not seeing a single person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Boring, at least.
Right. So, but this is one of several bars you own. So you own Tight End, which was Streets of London. You own X Bar, which has become a staple on Colfax for sure. I know you own a stake in the Squire, right? What's with Colfax? Do you just love opening bars here?
The minute I moved here, which was 18 years ago, I fell in love with Colfax.
Yeah.
They call it the longest wickedest street, and I love it. It's just got an edge to it. It's cool. There's like this building in particular. Look at the architecture. It's just amazing.
It's called Bourbon Square, and if you think about that and then you look, you're like, oh, I do feel a little New Orleans vibe.
Yeah, from the building. I do agree. I agree. But there's a lot of cool architecture, and you look down Colfax and you see the mountains, and it's incredible to me.
Keith, you and I are Colfax fanatics. What do you think about the bar scene on Colfax? Because I'm also thinking, like, this is really kind of an epicenter a little bit for a lot of our gay bars, our queer bars, right? We've got Charlie's as well. We've got Blush and Blue. We've got R&R a little bit farther down. Has this always been a queer spot? Like, has Colfax been that way for you?
Not until recently. Okay. I think it was actually, Charlie's has been there for a long time.
Right.
But that was less that this was like, oh, the queer street, but more like the epicenter that was Cheeseman, Capitol Hill, all of that, where the gayborhood really kind of like emerged from. It always felt to me that like Charlie's was like it grew out a little bit, and then it was just touching Colfax. Like Colfax was like the parameter, like that the gayborhood kind of ended on. But then once X Bar came along, then it was like, oh, we crossed the street. Right. And then Blush and Blue, and R&R has been there forever, but that's further down
it's
east.
Like further east Colfax.
There's now an Eagle further down west. So those are the two bookends. R&R and Eagle are like the two queer bookends of bars. But it's been, as a queer person growing up here, it's been a dream to have like a literal gayborhood of. Yeah. And I'm not one for the bar scene per se, but I am one for the drag scene and being social and
DJs.
All that stuff. So it's been a dream to be able to be like, well, can I go someplace where it's a 1 to 2 to 3 block walk to the next place that, oh, we'll be over here at X Bar for an hour, and then I'll meet you over at Charlie's for like 30 minutes, and then let's go to Crazy Horse and hang out there for the rest of the night or whatever. That was a possibility. And there was always little starts of other places, and I was always waiting for tracks to, build something around there, instead of just homogenizing, a lot of non-queer businesses, which I guess they're important too. But
we have a whole city of that. It's fine.
But we don't get a gayborhood out of doing that. So here's the hope that this stays. This becomes a queer epicenter, and then on top of it, housing around it, and which obviously we see across the street, coming around.
The old Ramada,
and can this all sort of like queer up and be a very safe and fun space again?
I agree, and even though we don't identify as a queer bar, it's all inclusive for sure, and because of the neighborhood becoming that, it obviously plays into that, and I think it's great. There's a lot of plans for making the street a little nicer. I'm hopeful that it's not turning into too much rhino or whatever, so
but I think it's impossible, to be honest with you. The Colfaxian nature of it.
It's like a rug that is so dirty it'll never get clean, but that's okay as long as it looks good on top, as long as it's keeping the pattern. It doesn't matter that every time you step on it, like dust pops out or something like that.
Squishy. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. We do have some issues with the very aggressive people on Colfax.
Sure.
But we do have some support with, through the bid and stuff that, try to help the businesses with that. Unfortunately, we have to put up, taller fences and stuff.
Yeah.
But I
think that's also just part of this conversation about how things evolve and how we deal with issues like public health and public safety, while also being able to support businesses that want to be on Colfax.
Mm-hmm.
10, 15 years ago, that might not have been the case for a lot of businesses who were maybe going the other direction. And I'm sort of seeing it as like this really beautiful, yet another renaissance for Colfax.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking in my 20s, I would love to have been like, bing, 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 I can hit all of these bars on Colfax. And
and even with that issue, I still feel safe.
Yeah.
I hope that others do as well.
This episode is brought to you by the Regional Air Quality Council. While we sometimes deal with wildfire smoke, did you know that the Front Range's biggest air quality issue is actually invisible? Created from pollutants like car exhaust that react in sunlight, ground-level ozone is a leading cause of respiratory problems. If you go out for an evening jog after a beautiful sunny day and feel that tightness in your chest, that could well be ground-level ozone. Besides feeling really out of breath, long-term exposure to high levels of ozone is linked to respiratory illnesses. But there is something you can do. Sign up for ground level ozone alerts to be aware of bad air days. To receive air quality alerts on your phone, text Better Air CO to 21000. You can also sign up online for emails at simplestepsbetterair.org. You'll also receive tips on how to improve air quality, so high ozone days happen less often. To stay in the know about bad air quality days and learn more, visit simplestepsbetterair.org. This episode is brought to you by Bad Boy Boards. Based right here in Denver, Bad Boy Boards takes raw hardwood and turns it into world-class cutting boards, charcuterie boards, chess boards, and more. It's a local brand with high quality and great prices, which is great because home chefs like me don't have to settle for anything less than simple elegance in world-class quality hardwood boards and dust covers. They also make gifting customizable and super easy. Oh, and this is super cool. If you stop by Bad Boy Boards, you can watch a live stream of the manufacturing floor so you can actually see your cutting board being made. Seriously, it's so cool. It's like if Willy Wonka made cutting boards. Learn more and order your own individually designed, constructed, and finished board at badboyboards.com. So, like you said, this is not like a intention, or not that it's not intentional, but you're not advertising it like this is the next queer bar or the next gay bar. Is there a reason that you didn't?
Yeah, because I think that sometimes people might be intimidated to go to a space that identifies as that, and I didn't want that. I want this to be a true community space where everyone feels safe and wants to come.
Yeah.
And let it become that. That's how Squire is for me. It's a neighborhood bar and everyone goes.
Yeah.
Anyone can meet someone that they're interested in or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a cool space without really identifying as anything.
Thing. But everybody can feel, because it kind of reminds me of, I worked at the mall for a long time, and it's just inherently very gay. But it's not that. It's like you go and you work there, but then you find your people.
Yeah.
And so I could see that being like, oh yeah, that's just my regular bar. And then you also happen to rub elbows with some folks you maybe would not talk to otherwise.
Absolutely.
And I think that's kind of also like a little bit Colfax.
Yeah.
Too.
Yes. I want this to be Colfax.
Yeah.
And that includes all different walks
of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the queer community being able to adopt anything
right.
is like, we don't have to own everything, but being able to feel comfortable going
that's the biggest part.
Anywhere is really what's important. So,
and that's an absolute.
Yeah.
In any of my spaces.
So I'm thinking about, we're going to be celebrating Pride all month long. Pride's origins here are not far from where we are at Crazy Horse right now. I used to live on Cheeseman Park, and I remember when the parade would start from there, it almost sounded like an ocean. The clapping was like so loud, but then it would come out onto Colfax and then go down. What do you both think about Pride today in context of Colfax?
I mean, Colfax is still like a main artery to this city. Yeah. I mean, obviously it was like the highway back in the day when Crazy Horse originally started and stuff like that. I mean, that's part of. I always remember Any Which Way But Loose, the Clint Eastwood film. Clint Eastwood orangutan chimpanzee movie.
Walking down Colfax.
Where he's a trucker. And that was the whole the shot of him in front of Crazy Horse perfectly captures any story of that time, because that's what truckers were doing. They were coming down Colfax with their stuff, and were they stopping for a drink or anything else was Crazy Horse.
When it was Route 40.
Yeah, but that's been a main artery, and that energy, even though obviously the highway I-70 is now a different part, has still kind of remained. And as far as Pride, like it's great that Pride runs through that artery. I mean, the center is on Colfax as well, the LGBTQ center of Denver, and I don't know, because of that, and because Colfax is also such like a melting pot. Like this is the melting pot part of Denver. It's great to really kind of celebrate that along this strip. And Pride today, like this is really going to be a really weird year. I feel like we've never kind of felt more attacked or in danger. And the very, act of celebrating Pride, which, we should always remember is still a riot. There's a celebration at the end of it, but we're still fighting for a lot of things. And it's great to have a main, we're not hidden by going down some like side street. Like Colfax is the street to carry on down and be proud with your neighbors and get support from your neighbors and all of that stuff. So
I love that.
So yeah, as long as we can keep things on Colfax, Pride will be Pride.
What are you thinking about with Pride, Stephen?
I love Pride. It's just so great. I mean, I grew up in the 80s when it was, it was very unsafe in a lot of places. So Pride wasn't just a celebration. It really was, like
an active
rebellion and defiance. Right, exactly. Why don't we have a straight Pride? Well, you don't need one.
The world is every day.
Every day. So I always laugh at that, but no, I think it's so great, and now that is luckily more of a celebration than anything else, except for now, like with things happening in Florida and whatnot, other states. You'd think we are very lucky here in Denver and on Colfax.
Yeah, I mean, I think our governor is really working to make those things clear. Like if this is who you are, we're the place for you.
And locally too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we have support everywhere.
Let's just end on that. Do you two have any big plans for Pride? Any things you want to do this month, or at least during the celebratory weekend?
Well, Pride always for me and for like the Sea Film Center. We're getting ready for Cinema Q, the Cinema Q Film Festival, which will be in August 10th to the 13th. But obviously, Pride Month is when we're reminding everybody that it's going to be that. We just have a ton of events. We're working with Black Pride Colorado the weekend before Pride.
Oh, cool!
Throwing a block party at the Sea on June 17th during the day, and just a whole bunch of things. So. Just getting ready to queer it up.
Yeah. We always go like at super panic mode at the beginning, making sure everything is good and happy for our customers and safe, with everybody in place, and then get to kind of enjoy it afterwards. But yeah, we have a full week of events at X Bar starting the weekend before. Lots of big name DJs and drag shows and tight end. We have no cover and DJs and stuff, so that's just kind of a fun space to pop in at any point. And then this is our first year here, so it should be fun at least during the parade.
Yeah. Oh,
lots of front patio space. So,
to be watching the parade. You have this killer patio.
Yeah.
But I know X Bar is really a headquarters for a lot of folks.
Yeah. When the parade kind of starts at tight end and almost ends at X Bar, so it's like I got the bookends of it.
Well, Stephen and Keith, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, I meant to say something, because the longest wickedest street saying about Colfax has been debunked many times. And we got a note about this because the mayor of Lakewood actually brought it up last week. And I think Denverite did a investigation into it, and they couldn't find any actual proof that Playboy had said that. But I find it so interesting that it is hung on for so long. And I think part of it is, how else would you describe Colfax?
Yeah, and isn't it rumored that Sid King was integral in that whole thing?
Oh, I
somehow?
don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, though. I mean,
Yeah,
again, like,
I
he's the guy. He would
Heard it
be-
or read it or somewhere or something, and I was like, that would make sense.
I think we need to have a statue of Sid
Sid
King.
King.
If you ever see pictures of him, he's a short man in stature and like had these ridiculous tinted glasses and like wore a suit with like the roughly 70s shirts. Like
Maybe that's the mannequin is like
Sid
Sid King mannequin spinning on a pole, just sort of, because he's like.
I'm not sure how his kids would feel about that. But
I feel like maybe what it was is he was talking to someone from Playboy. The person at Playboy said something, and then he immediately ran with it.
Yeah, and he was like, "Wait a
says
minute."
Playboy.
Yeah. That way he would be the kind of guy that would get that proliferated everywhere. And then, but I don't know. I've just always found it to be like, well, it's accurate.
it's accurate and it's perfect. And it is the longest commercial street, right? So
Right, it's
technically, that's
26
correct.
mile long main street,
Yeah.
longest continuous main street in the country.
And this is where the hookers were.
Yeah,
Right? So-
totally.
And some are
It
still
still
are.
are.
Some still
Still
are
are.
definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's spicy.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. This was fun.
Thank you very much.
And here's what else Denverites are talking about. Homophobic coffee. A new coffee shop opened last week in the Art District on Santa Fe, which wouldn't be big news, except that some eagle-eyed folks online pointed out that their parent company has an explicit anti-LGBTQ mission. While the owner of the Drip Cafe told Denver 7 that their, quote, whole point is to love everybody, the parent company's website includes the following quote: "This organization is opposed to homosexuality as an alternative lifestyle." This sparked an uproar online, and protesters were on site at the Drip Cafe's grand opening last Friday. That section of the parent company's website has since been rewritten, though their beliefs are clearly the same. The new website copy states that they, quote, believe that showing hate towards people in these communities is not the way Jesus would respond. Therefore, although disagreeing with the lifestyle, we must show love. If you're on Santa Fe and you want to grab a latte without homophobia, check out Middle State Coffee, Tonantzin Casa de Cafe, and The Molecule Effect. We'll also drop a link to our episode on the best coffee shops in the Mile High in our show notes. And finally, some news out of Aurora. The Denver Post reports that Aurora police shot and killed a 14-year-old boy named Jordell Richardson last Thursday. The police say that he and some other teens robbed a convenience store near 8th and Dayton, and that one of the teens threatened the clerk with a gun. Interim Police Chief Art Acevedo visited with Richardson's family earlier this week and showed them body camera footage of the incident. Colorado law requires that it will be released to the public, and a press conference is scheduled for Friday afternoon. We'll have more on this story after the video is released. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell Sid King's family about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Denver, by texting Denver to 66866. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye-bye. If you're on Santa Fe, you can grab a latte without a homophobia.